Hello, everyone, and welcome to TribeThrive TV. This is our wonderful Wealthy Woman Warrior platform, and today I'm actually going to be interviewing Heather Cavanagh. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. I'm just waiting for the cast to populate so that I can actually see her and bring her into our what we call our lobby. For now, what I'd love for you guys to do is actually share this link while we're waiting for Heather. Share the link so that you can win. And what that means is that every time we do a broadcast, what will happen is we want to make sure that we are helping about 1 million. That's our goal, 1 million women by 2025. So what that means is that we will be putting out different contests, different things that you can do so that you can actually come into the TribeThrive and check out things. So one of the things that we'll be giving away, and we're going to be looking for the people that actually share this post the most. But what will happen is if you share this video, we're going to track it over the next 24 hours. And those of you who share it the most will actually be entered into a draw to win one of our foundational training courses. So the value of that is around $1,000. And we're excited to be able to give those away and really start helping you move forward and get unstuck and really, choose your path, choose your results, move forward. And that's exciting to me. All right. So I'm going to give you a couple moments just to share this link so that you can win. If you have a question or a comment, I'd love to have you guys populate that as well and just put that in the window. And I'm just going to check in with Heather here. It looks like she's having just a couple of technical issues. So I'm just waiting for her. While you're doing that, make sure that you're sharing. And we're going to get going. I'm actually really excited about having Heather on our broadcast. And the reason I'm so excited about having Heather on our broadcast is because, as you heard me talk about in our initial video that I did yesterday, if you haven't seen that, we're going to be putting these onto a video page specifically for you so you can get caught up if ever you miss something. And actually the ones that we do on our TribeThrive site. So if you're viewing this on TribeThrive, amazing. That's our Facebook page, and it's called The Real TribeThrive with Facebook. And if you see that on Facebook, I would highly suggest that you join, because what we're going to be doing is going from our personal pages into our TribeThrive page, and we'll be putting all of our videos up there within the next couple of weeks. Now, that said, one of the reasons why Wealthy Woman Warrior converted from just my personal work and mindset to having other ambassadors and having 5 pillars instead of just one area of vulnerability is because what we know, and studies show this, is that when women collaborate, they will actually change the way society is working, the way that our global economy is actually thriving. And the McKinsey report that came out in June of 2017, and you can go ahead and Google that, you'll have the full report. You'll actually see in it where they say that if women don't start collaborating, it's going to take another 100 years to get to gender parity. So, clearly I've done a ton of research over the past 2 years on how women can advance themselves. And that's really where Wealthy Woman Warrior, the idea came up and why it changed into this bigger collaboration. Now, what's really wonderful about this is that within our platform, we actually have experts within each pillar. So although the Prolific Mindset Training and Power to Thrive is my proprietary work that I've been doing for well over 15 years now, we now have people who are trained in it, women who are trained in it, and they have specific areas of expertise that they're bringing to the table, and we're formatting it specifically for you, because each group and where a woman is within her life, within her career, within her personal life. Because remember, yesterday I talked about how the brain, the way that a woman's brain operates versus the way a man's brain operates, everything's connected. And if you go to the Prolific Mindset Blueprint and you actually enroll in that, and I'll give you the URL at the end of our interview today, what you'll see is that you'll be able to then log in and get all of the details so that you can actually start thriving and understand why each group needs a completely different set of guidance. And so what we did at Wealthy Woman Warrior was we looked at the groups. We looked at, the millennials and how the millennials are struggling. We looked at the Gen Xers. And let me tell you, ladies, Gen Xers are in a completely different category than anybody else right now. And we're in a place where we've never had so much pressure than we do today. And that's why Heather is really going to be coming on board and working with us. And why we actually brought Heather onto the platform in the first place, because she's broken glass ceilings in corporate that women haven't. She's broken glass ceilings in so many different areas that it's unbelievable. And so what we're seeing is that we need the right people in the right training to help you guys move forward, to really help you instigate and follow the steps so that you can really claim what you deserve instead of continuing to just go through the motions and go through the steps. So I'm just sending Heather, pardon me, I'm trying to do two things at once. Talk about speaking to the multitaskers. Heather's having some issues just logging in. And so I'm just going to give her this link once more and hopefully she'll get it. These are all the fun stuff with technology that especially our Gen Xers are having fun with. And what I love about this is that what it means is that it's just really real, right? We're just showing you all of the ways that this stuff happens. Okay, so I've sent that link once again to Heather. And while I'm waiting for her to come up and onto the platform, I'm just going to log into some of this content here. Bear with me for just 1 second. I know sometimes these things happen. Technology is always fun. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully she got that. I'm just going to send her a quick text. Okay. And then while I'm waiting for her, let me just share a little bit about Heather. I actually met Heather about 2 years ago, believe it or not. And we were at a networking group, and I was actually doing a leadership session, I guess, if you want to call it, at this networking group in Toronto. And it was for Wealthy Woman Warrior and becoming more of a leader. And it was interesting because when I met with Heather, she had a very interesting story to share. She was extremely focused in her thinking. She was very accomplished. She has an incredibly accomplished corporate background as well as educational background. She spent about 15 years in advertising and in marketing. And And then she also spent about 10 years on Bay Street. And Bay Street in Canada is like the financial industry, like, oh my goodness. I'm just laughing because you can tell that I'm nice and scattered with not having her on here. I'm trying to think of Bay Street is like, if she was on here, she would just laugh at me. And I can see that you guys are here. Bay Street is equivalent to what in New York? That's what I'm trying to say. I sound like such a silly Canadian woman right now. This is terrible. But what I'm trying to say, oh, here she is. Yay, finally. Okay, let's add. Okay. Heather, we're bringing you live. Wall Street in New York is what I'm looking for. Oh dear. Heather. Nope. Okay, now we've got you. Okay, now you're live. There we go. Okay. Hi, Heather, you're live. Yay. I just can't hear your sound.
Great.
There we can. There we go. We're good.
Okay.
Yay. How are you today?
Okay, except for technology.
Well, you know what? This is what happens, right?
This is what
happens. And here's the thing. I was just talking about GenXers. What is one of the major things that we all struggle with? What is it?
It is technology.
Well, technology, but underneath it, from a mindset perspective, what is it that we struggle with?
The change for getting it right. I want to get it right. I want this
perfection.
This should have connected. My daughter, this would have connected. And it took me an extra 13 minutes to make this connection happen. And we tested it.
Well, that's okay.
Well, I hope so. But this is where I want to pull my hair out. And this is where I want to slit my throat.
Well.
Welcome. But we're here now.
Heather. So you're not alone. I bet you how many other people, if you're a Gen Xer and you're on this call, feel the same. Right? So here's the thing about mindset. And this is the thing. This is the whole reason. Now, it's interesting. And what you're seeing with Heather right now is actually the very thing that most women our age in that Gen Xer, so entering 40s, in 40s, or just leaving 40s, this age group is struggling a ton. And the reason we're struggling so much is because everything needs to be perfect. Why is Heather going into a fixed mindset right now? Because it wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. It didn't happen right away. What do we need to do right away is get back into that prolific mindset, because that's actually what shifts us back. Now, what's interesting about Heather, and Heather, I'm just going to give a little bit more background on you if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'll let you take a quick breather because I know that you're like frazzled from getting on. Yeah, have a glass of water. Now, the thing about Heather is that she did spend 10 years on Bay Street, on Bay Street. I was just, you would have laughed. I was like, what's the word for the equivalent to Bay Street in New York? And it's Wall Street, of course, but I was flustered at that time. Anyways, so the fun part about this is that you spent all of this time on Bay Street. You busted through massive glass ceilings, and you have always bounced. Now, it's interesting. One of our other ambassadors who's primarily in the financial ambassador section or financially literacy section of Wealthy Woman Warrior, she was talking about how women need to learn how to bounce instead of just dropping. And so this is what we're seeing here. Now, the key to this is actually, again, looking at mindset. So one of the reasons that I chose Heather was actually because she had this, incredible background where she had to make a number of tough choices. And you still are making tough choices every single day. Every one of us is making tough choices, including, excuse me, being on the calls and actually pivoting when we need to, right? So what will happen is that it's always going to be a test of our character. It's always going to be a test as to whether we thrive or whether we stay in that concept of surviving. And what I think is so great about you, Heather, is that when you first started with Wealthy Woman Warrior, you were so stuck in the corporate mindset that when one thing happened, it was going to be a reason for stuckness to happen everywhere. Would you agree with that?
I can't disagree. So yes, I do agree.
And what's interesting is that although corporate doesn't necessarily breed that, it's a sense or a feeling that a lot of women who are in corporate have right now. And in speaking to the corporate women and in speaking to the women entrepreneurs who are Gen Xers, I think these two mindsets can be quite different. But underneath it all, that essence of being stuck is really evident. And it's really quite a problem, isn't it?
Yes, very much so.
So like when you look at all of the things that you slogged it out in, I mean, you did startups, you did monoliths, you did, situations where you're the only woman on male-dominated teams and male-dominated fields. So you've had a ton of positive feedback. Let's talk a little bit about why you joined Wealthy Woman Warrior and why mindset, excuse me, was your area that you went into. Let's talk about that.
So I do have a very, I don't know, it sounds boastful to say successful, but I'll take pride in what I've accomplished.
Absolutely.
A successful career in advertising and then on Bay Street. And I did slog it out in some pretty tough circumstances. And, that's just part of, I think, being in the corporate world. But I do believe that at some point everybody reaches a place where you sort of think, okay, I'm doing the grind, I'm grinding, I'm evolving, I'm changing, I'm grinding, but is this what I want? Is when does the grind stop? Is the grind forever? I have kids, I have family, where do I start to find this thing called balance, which I didn't think I needed in corporate, but maybe I actually do, because my life is so many different dimensions. So I found Wealthy Woman Warrior because I was looking for a solution. I was looking for some way to help get balance. And I didn't even know what I was looking for at the time back into my life. I love what Wealthy Woman Warrior is building. That there is a structure for business development, this supporting 1 million women, a galvanizing community. I think that is absolutely 100% supportive. People want to improve themselves. They want to find what they're looking for. That's human nature. But if you can do that within the confines of something bigger and in a community, that is something really special and quite propelling. And I think that's what's unique about what you're building here. And it's not just a marketing spin. It's not just, today's, words or true. I think it really is truly what is being built here. And I think that is something that's very unique, and I think will be incredibly powerful for women to tap into. I'm a huge proponent of the network, and I wrote my master's thesis on networking and the advantages that brings to people, the necessities that brings to people, particularly women in corporate. And I think what we're building here is something really powerful. So someplace to develop yourself within the confines of a bigger community network. Connections.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, because would you say that right now that women might feel lonelier than they ever have before? Would that be
yeah, but they probably wouldn't even use the word lonely. They probably don't even know what the word is. I just think women probably feel, a corporate woman would probably say isolated, which is lonely. But But yeah, you just sort of feel like you're out there trekking through the miles on your own.
Yeah. And for the woman entrepreneur who's the GenXer, likely she's sitting behind a computer. Likely she's also feeling isolated. I think we can use those that word interchangeably for both corporate and for women who are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
A lot of people, even in corporate nowadays, are working from home. And so because we have this age of technology and we have this place where women are primarily in environments of isolation, that's actually keeping us, right? That's actually keeping us quite stuck. And so one of the reasons that we did go online instead of just in-person community is because by being online and by being online in a training situation, anybody can get access at any time and not only get access to the training, which is there, but also get access to live calls. Mm-hmm. So when we're on the inside of our training, we have the live calls, we have access so that people can get on it at different times. So I'm curious to just go a little bit more into your story and talk a little bit more about you. Let's talk a little bit about what you were doing prior to joining us on Wealthy Woman Warrior, because I think that's also important, because that also then leads into what makes your insight quite different and why you are such a valuable person and ambassador at Wealthy Woman Warrior.
Okay, thanks. Well, as little as 2 years ago, I mean, I was working on mega projects and huge communication deliverables for a large institutional money manager. But my focus and what I had realized after I'd finished my graduate degree is that my focus has always been on people. So even while I was working on these big projects, what I always had enjoyed most was developing people and working on teams. And then my own personal success was important to me. And then my family. And as your family grows and ages, and as that sandwich generation happens, it becomes more important and probably more in your face because there's more to do. To fulfill on some of those family demands. So it was a very strenuous and arduous decision for me to decide to leave my corporate job. And not everybody, that's not the decision for everybody. That was my decision based on an awful lot of soul searching and career planning and personal development. And I stepped away from that chaotic comfort of a corporate job to do what I love to do, which is to work with people and to help people develop networks and communities. So I'm delighted to be here. Within those 2 years, I had some pretty big life changes. My father passed away, so I dealt with a terminal condition. That made it very easy to choose family over business. Even though you still need to make an income and do those things, but you really are forced to make decisions. And so I made the decision to put out my shingle and leverage my experiences and my education and do this. And I found this community in which to bring it forward. And I couldn't be happier because I really do believe in what we're doing here.
Well, and I think it's really what I love about you, Heather. So Heather is very much like me. Both of us are really real. Like, who else gets on this call and is like, ah? And that's the thing that, in the broadcast that I did yesterday, I talked about not being polished. I talked about us being real. And I talked about us really living up to just being genuine and giving you the genuine needs that you need to hear and see and receive so that you can actually reach your economic potential.
Life is always pretty. Life is always, and it is just chaotic more than it is pretty. So
absolutely. And one of the things that you said, and you actually have said it a couple times, which is why I have it in my mind. But one of the things that you have said often is that it takes bravery, balls, and big beliefs to keep moving ahead. And what I love about that is that I think for a lot of women, we go back and forth between this masculine and this feminine energy, and we really struggle with what we can put out there. Would you agree?
Yes, wholeheartedly. I mean, do I be soft, or do I be the ball buster? Do I be more of a man? Man up. When you are sitting at a table and they are all men, there is a certain energy flow that you participate in. And yet you should never lose sight of the authentic you, and the genuine you. And so, if ball busting isn't your shtick, because that doesn't make you feel good inside, then there has to be a better way of directing yourself.
Absolutely. So how have you used our mindset, specifically the Power to Thrive, but how have you used some of the principles from that to shift and pivot so that you could always move forward, so that you were always, because you're always, what's great about you is that you're always in alignment with who you are as a genuine person, which is why I quoted you on the bravery, balls, and big beliefs. So tell me about how the training that you've A, received, and then B, that you've taught others, has really helped move you forward and move your clients forward.
So the training is this is really self-reflective training, which if you go out and browse through any leadership article, that's at the crux of actually being a good leader. So we use the term overachiever in my marketing niche, but you can put in there leader, sales manager, director, high achiever, anybody who is in a very managerial type role. Your own business is an entrepreneur.
CEO, entrepreneurs,
absolutely.
Yeah, all of those
Absolutely.
things.
So
solopreneurs, mompreneurs, they all fall into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're somebody who likes to do a really good job. I mean, if you're hanging your shingle out there, you are dedicated to making your business work for yourself and for your family. So the training that worked for me for Power to Thrive is it's self-reflective work. So we've all bought the self-help books and we've all watched some webcasts, but we don't sit down and do the actual work. And until you actually do the work, that is when you see the growth. And you can have a coach or you can have a community that's helping you ensure that you're getting that work done. That's part of what you're going to find in Power to Thrive, because there is follow-up and the work does build on what you actually did do. So for me, it sounds so simple, but the journaling is probably the biggest part. That might feel new agey at first. How can it be new agey? It's just journaling and writing. But if it's not something that you've currently done up until now, it's going to feel awkward, but I can't convince you enough to get started on it.
Yeah. And I think, even when it comes down to journaling, we're talking about journaling from an experiential perspective. We're talking about journaling after you've actually built out your own prolific mindset, your own, what we call the inner navigation center, your own place where you can actually make some changes and feel a different shift with your emotions first. And then the journaling that you do after that, or the notes that you make after it, are like so empowering and so life-changing because they give you reflection, they give you pause. There's this saying out there, and likely you've heard it too, it's like you have to slow down before you can speed up, but nobody's teaching anybody how to slow down so that they can speed up. And what I've seen with you is that that's exactly what you've been able to do. You've been able to slow down enough so that you could get really clear on what it was that you wanted and how you would best help your clients. So, I can see how that's really made an impact for you.
And I think another powerful part, at least for me and what I've noticed with my clients, is there's a certain, so we tend to say, oh God, I need to go out there and get training on, being a better speaker, having more self-confidence, whatever it is. This type of reflective work, it's not necessarily objective based, because what you're going to do is find stuff out about yourself that perhaps you haven't really wanted to see or had never been open to seeing before. And that's the real you. And that's where I think, that's where I believe that personal development comes from, is sort of that rawness and realism of, oh, I opened myself up so that I had that aha moment. Or, God, I never thought that that was the actual insight behind why I do that behavior. As opposed to just saying, I'm going to get better at closing sales.
Yeah.
And
the reality is,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is that the reality is you can't get better at sales unless you're making that connection. You can't get better at any corporate job or even as an entrepreneur. It's really difficult to grow a business if you don't understand what's going on underneath the scene or behind the scenes and within your behavior, right? Because your thinking drives your actions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think that's what part of the powerful discovery is about doing this self-reflective work. And it just compounds any other training you're going to get, which might be much more rudimentary around, 5 ways to close sales faster.
Well, and what I always find so funny about that is that if we actually followed, if we followed the books or the how-tos, everyone would be successful and everyone would be doing their dream job. Yeah. The reality is, though, is that unless you have something where you are experiencing it, and this is why, literature is amazing. I'm not denoting it. But what I'm saying is that unless you have the ability to experience what the psychology or what the science or what the stats are showing you, what the research is showing you, unless you have a way to embody it, it will never come to fruition. No, that's true. Yeah. Where is the ability to keep it all weaved together for real progress? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Heather, I love that you joined us today. I love that you were able to bounce. I'm sorry I was late, although I did hear on a Facebook posting somewhere that people who are late will live longer. I don't know. There you go. Reframe. And it wasn't about being late. It was really just about the technology. But we got that sorted. And so these are the awesome things that are happening. I loved that you were so genuine and so real. I'm so thrilled to have you as one of our mindset ambassadors, because I've seen your work. I've seen what you have done, and you're incredible. And I just feel so blessed to walk beside you. And I can't wait for the women who are joining TribeThrive to have exposure to you, work with you, and really see how far they can go together. So thank you for being here. Great. Thanks very much for having me. And I look forward to meeting everyone who is out here and wants to be a part of TribeThrive. We all learn from each other. I really do believe that, and I'm incredibly looking forward to it. Awesome. So everyone who's either joining us live or is watching this as a recording, what I have asked is that you share this video so that it can go further, farther, and faster. If you share this video, what we're doing is we're able to track it, and then one lucky winner will actually be able to your names will be entered into a draw, and one lucky winner will actually get a free Power to Thrive training course, which is one of our foundational courses on the inside of our TribeThrive online training center. So I can't wait to see you on the inside. Have a brilliant day. And in about half an hour, we're going to be live with our millennial coach, Melissa Kwan. We'll see you then. Bye for now, everyone.